What do you do when you find yourself talking to a friend, talking to someone that you love, that is about to make a choice that you know is the wrong choice, but they're gonna do it anyway? I mean, what do you do when you have a person or you have a group and they are going down a path and you can see it? This is not going to end well. But they choose it anyway. I've had many sleepless nights in ministry, frankly, for a multitude of reasons. But the nights that are most difficult toil are the ones where someone I love, someone I've gone to battle with in the gospel, has chosen a choice that will end in disaster, that will end in heartache, that will hurt their family and the church. But they cannot be deterred. That's the situation that we find ourselves in 1 Samuel chapter 8. This is a passage that I find myself returning back to time and time again. It's such a unique place in the nation of Israel's history. This is after the judges have been moving forward. And God at this point has not been ruling through a kingdom. He's been ruling through the mouthpieces of his people, the prophets. He would arise a prophet or a judge at a time to do a specific thing of his bidding, but there was not one singular king. However, a problem began to arise. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 1. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. Sometimes the people that are closest to you can be the ones that blind you the most. Because honestly, if we're going to be truthful about this text, once you read about his sons, the primary mistake is Samuel ignoring the fact that his sons are not good leaders. That just because they share his blood does not mean that they share his calling. He is old, so he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah. And they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. I love the honesty of the text. The honesty of the text is he was wrong. Matter of fact, it gets even more specific. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. Like if you read the book of Leviticus, it is adamant that the leaders of Israel, the judges of Israel, are not to even entertain bribes, because then justice cannot be had. Because the poor are not able to pay what the rich can in order to get a fair hearing. It is not who has the most money that determines justice. Justice is beyond sway. So here we have Samuel, who is blinded by his children's perversion. He cannot see it, for his love for his children is so strong that he's appointing them even though they are not good leaders. Which makes verse 4 all the more difficult. Verses 4 and 5 all the more difficult to navigate. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways." I'll be honest with you. I don't want to completely vilify the elders here. What I do want to say, first of all, is this. That took a lot of humility and a lot of courage to go up to Samuel, who has been their leader, who has navigated and given them wisdom and insight from the Lord in such a powerful way, to go up to him and say, "Hey, bro, you're wrong." We need more of that in the church. Not motivated out of guile, not even motivated by being right, motivated by what is best for the bride. To even walk to a minister or an elder that's been doing it for 30 years and doing it well and faithful and say, "Listen, your contribution to the kingdom is not at stake here. It's not in question. but you're making a mistake. Because the bottom line is this, the elders were right. Samuel is old, and he will not be there much longer, and his sons are not cut from the same cloth. They do not follow his ways. But it's this last line that is so overwhelming. They say, here's our solution. Appoint us a king. Appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have. Their diagnosis was correct. Their solution was horrendous. And Samuel goes before God and he says, they've rejected me. God says, no, see this clearly. They've rejected me as their king, not you. And so God goes to Samuel and he says, this is what I want you to tell them that will happen if they get their king. Their king will use them, will destroy them, will take their sons and will put them at the very front of the army, which is the most vulnerable point. He will take your crops for his own gain. He will take your daughters for his maidservants. The king will use you. Not like me. The king will not fight your battles. He will take from you. Go and tell them that this is what it will be like, and that on that day they will cry for relief, verse 18 says. Cry for relief from the king they have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day, because you will have already made your choice. Verse 19 says, but the people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with the king to lead us and go out before us and fight our battles. Whenever you have a friend or a group that you love dearly, and you can tell that they're going to make a choice that is going to end poorly, what do? You do one of the most difficult things you can possibly do. You be a mirror. And then you commit to a position where you never will tell them, I told you so. That's what happens here. God holds up to the mirror of their decision through Samuel, and he says, this is what you're asking. Do you know this? This is what you are choosing. Are you sure? And when they are adamant of the decision, then what you do is you begin to lay the groundwork to not tell them I told you so, but to help fix what will inevitably be broken. Verse 21, when Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, listen to them and give them a king. Then Samuel said to the Israelites, everyone go back to your own town for the preparations of their choice. Listen, you cannot choose choices for other people, but you can be there when the choices begin to fall apart. You can be there, and in those moments, do not desire to be proven right more than you desire to help them out of their difficult situation that was created by their foolish choices. The goal in any of our relationships is never to be the one that is correct. It's always to be the one there that has already started building the bridges of reparation, so that ultimately, regardless how far we run, we can still come home. I love you guys. Talk to you next week.